You've been training your glutes for months, RDLs, Bulgarian split squats, hip thrusts, and they still look exactly the same as they did at the beginning. I am going to bridge the gap between the information and the science and what you need to be doing to make the best glute gains you can. So what you can see from this video is that Bret talks about people being able to do 30 to 40 sets of glutes per week. And this isn't bad advice. In fact, this is pretty sound if you look at the literature, and this is where the problem sets in. It's not even so much to do with your level of experience. Of course, advanced lifters will be able to manage that volume so much better than a beginner, but for you as that intermediate to advanced section, the issue comes in is how to apply those 30 or 40 sets into your training so that you can withstand that level of input, but also importantly recovery, because we can only grow from what we recover from. And so the problem continues. Each person who sees this piece of information only really sees, well, I guess I need to do more. And in my experience, is also where progress tends to stall, but also people's training enjoyment tends to go downhill with it. Because with the increased amount of volume, the increased amount of gym time, they've not seen an increased amount of result. So we're putting in so much more effort, we feel much more fatigued, we feel much more hungry, but we're not getting any more growth. So all this effort isn't going to something. And that's what leads a lot of the clients I've worked with in the past to be thinking, it must be me. It must be a genetics problem. My glutes won't grow. So I really do get the frustration, and it's the key reason I'm doing this video today. So the first thing I need you to understand is that volume is not the main driver of muscle growth. The primary driver of muscle growth is continuous progressive overload with stimulus through mechanical tension. But there's something else that you need to know, and it's probably something which I spend a good 60% of my week talking to my clients about: training intensity. If you watch my first video on the 5 main drivers of glute growth, I'll put it here, you will know that one of those main drivers was our proximity to failure, our ability to push sets close to failure. If you combine that with the research, what we know is that we need to be training a muscle between 3 and 0 RIR. That stands for reps in reserve. Simply put, how many reps have you got left at the end of a set when you bring that set to a finish? This isn't a, I think I have 3 reps. This is a, if somebody like myself was stood right next to you and we pushed you as hard as we could you actually facilitate any more than 2 reps or 3 reps? For most of you, it's this scale that's so wrong. Where you think you're at 0 or 2, you're actually at 6, 7 or 8. And I probably go through between 200 and 400 form videos a week in, week out. I am messaging, I am talking about them in their check-ins, I'm looking for intensity, I'm looking to see how much they're able to push and how close they can get to failure, because I understand and they understand that that is what grows muscle mass. So to bring this full circle, we're talking about a proximity to failure in a video that I'm talking about sets. How does this come all back together? Well, put it this way. If I asked you to put 30 sets of work into your glute training program now, and I asked you to then take each of those 30 sets to failure, how would you feel? Could you walk? Could you get out of the gym? What would your next day be like? If we understand the science, but we don't have the application, our ability to enjoy our training is going very downhill. In fact, our ability to walk is going very downhill. And that's not what we want. We want to stimulate, grow, and accumulate, not annihilate. One of the best strength and conditioning coaches I ever had told me that. We are not here to annihilate, we are here to accumulate. And the same thing goes for you guys. So now that we understand that a set only contributes to muscle growth if it's trained close enough to failure, what we really need to do is judge our sets based on their quality, not the quantity. So would it be better to do 15 really high quality sets close to failure, or 30 further away? Most people are putting the cart before the horse because they haven't got the intensity in their training before they add the volume. And if you're not sure, look at your training programs. If I asked you to train each of the sets that you currently have closer to failure, could you do it? Most of you wouldn't be able to function after the first 2 exercises. And that's where programming comes into this. Knowing what you're doing and why is very important, or trusting the person who's doing it for you. And again, if you go into the description, I've actually put 2 really solid glute sessions together for you. So if we get this right, what are we left with? Well, you're probably going to be left with 2 or 3 glute sessions a week. If you can get 3 in, brilliant. If you can then distribute volume through those 3 sessions, and to start with, you only did 5 sets of glutes per session, but you trained each of those sets as close to failure as you're psychologically available to do, you will feel a very, very different sensation in your glutes in your training, and the intensity of that is what's going to carry over to getting you some glute growth. Now, I want to be really fair here. Bret's positioning on glute growth and the amount of sets required isn't arbitrary. It's not just plucked that out of thin air and gone, fuck it, that looks like a good idea, let's do that. What he's done is he's taken the literature and the research and the experience that he's had with clients, and that's why he talks about some women being able to do 40 to 50 sets of glute work per week. And he's then been able to say, okay, this seems like the sweet spot if we take the research and we take the experience and we bring it together. So it's really important to know that I'm not disagreeing with the amount of sets that he's recommending. I am saying the application of that is so important for you if you're struggling to get glute growth from following that scientific information. So why is it that the glutes are able to take so much volume above and beyond any other muscles? Well, there's a few reasons. And one of them comes from the fact that there's a few different muscles that can do a few different actions. You see, the glutes comprise three main muscles. You have the glute max, the glute medius, and the glute minimus. We have the ability to extend, abduct, and externally rotate. When we look at the glutes in their entirety, they are a very, very all-encompassing muscle. They have different fiber types, they have different jobs, they have different roles, they have different abilities to produce force, stability, and action. So they are a multifaceted muscle, which is why we can train it in so many ways, but it's also why the glutes can take so much volume. Just because they can take a lot of volume does not mean that they need a lot of volume to grow, nor does it mean that more volume is the way to make them grow, because I've already said, intensity is key in growth. So if we are looking at your training and we say, right, you need to do 30 sets a week. And if we break that down into 3 sessions, which many of the girls I coach do 2 or 3 glute sessions a week, if we can get 3 in, bloody wonderful. If you break 30 sets up into 3 sessions, you've got to do 10 sets of glutes per session. The first set usually is much better quality than the last set. So as the sets go on, the set quality is going to drop off. So what then happens as we go through the week? Well, each session there becomes diminished because our ability to recover as we compound on the volume is also going to be diminished as the week goes on. And this leads to one of the biggest killers of glute gains I've seen over the last 11 years that I've done this: junk volume. Junk volume is where we are not getting enough stimulus to the muscle we're trying to work, and instead what we're getting is the fatigue of moving the weight. Junk volume is a silent motivation killer because you feel like you're doing everything you need to do, but you're not getting anywhere. And the reason you're not getting anywhere is because what you're doing is junk volume, not actual quality volume that's contributing to glute growth. And this problem actually creates a cycle because then when you're so fatigued from training the day or the week before, you then can't put as much effort into the sets and the reps that you've got to do today, which means we're just gaining more and more fatigue and are setting our training further and further back. High fatigue, low stimulation, next to no progress. The most important thing to note is that 30 to 40 sets is the final goal, but only when we can match intensity to those sets. Because if you can't, we are just going to be adding junk volume, we are just going to be adding fatigue, and it's not going to be helping your glute growth. So what is it actually that you need to do? If you want an idea of how to program, I've got 2 sessions already in the description that you can download whenever you're ready. If you want any help with this, or you have any questions, stick them in the comments. I'll answer every single one of them. So to round this up, it's how we apply stuff that matters. We need to train smarter, we need to train harder, not more. If you've been training consistently for months on end and you're still not getting anywhere, I'm offering a free 20-minute call as an audit for your training. You can bring me form videos, you can bring me your program, I will sit and I will listen, and then I'll give you exactly what I would do if you came to work with me, but I'm gonna send you away with it. I don't want you to work with me off the back of that call. I actually want you to take care of the advice that I'm gonna give you and go and implement it for 6 weeks. Because if you do, you might find that that's all you needed. And if you do it and you still can't make it work, come back to me and we can talk about the next options from there. But I do want to show you that this can be as simple as it sounds. We just need the right application. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and I'll see you in the next one.